You're sitting there, and suddenly everything changes. The person who had complete control over your emotions, who knew exactly what to say to make you doubt yourself, who could manipulate you with a single text message, suddenly they're the one falling apart. They're confused, they're angry, they're desperate. And for the first time, you realize they're not actually invincible. They're panicking. And watching them panic, it's the moment you finally understand that you were never as powerless as you believed. You were just choosing to believe their narrative. But what happens when you stop? Make sure to subscribe to the channel because here you'll discover powerful psychological truths that can change your life. The insights we're about to share are going to shift how you see every relationship, every manipulation attempt, and every person who tries to control you. So hit that subscribe button right now. Let me tell you something about narcissists that most people don't understand. A narcissist isn't just someone who's a little self-centered or likes attention. No, a true narcissist is someone whose entire identity, their entire sense of self-worth, depends on something external. They need control. They need your attention. They need your emotional reactions. Without these things, they literally don't know who they are. Think about that for a second. While you're trying to figure out your purpose, your dreams, your authentic self, the narcissist is building their entire existence around controlling you, around making you doubt yourself, around keeping you emotionally tied to them. And here's the thing that nobody talks about. This isn't actually strength. It's the deepest form of weakness. They're like someone who can't walk on their own, so they spend all their energy learning how to control other people's legs instead. They become expert manipulators because they have to. Their survival depends on it. Without you reacting, without you doubting yourself, without you seeking their approval, they start to crumble. Because if they can't control you, then who are they? This is why we're going to talk about what happens when that control suddenly stops working. Because once you understand this, once you truly see it, you'll never fall for it again. If you've ever dealt with someone like this, someone who made you feel crazy, someone who could turn a conversation around so fast that you'd end up apologizing for something they did to you, make sure to subscribe. Because what we're about to reveal is going to change everything. Imagine this. You're with someone who has controlled every aspect of your emotional life. They know your weaknesses. They know exactly which words will make you feel worthless. They know that when they give you the silent treatment, you'll spend hours trying to figure out what you did wrong. They've perfected the art of making you feel like the problem, like you're the crazy one, like you're the one who needs to fix yourself. And for months, maybe years, this works perfectly for them. They get the attention they crave. They get the emotional reaction. They get to be right. They get to be superior. But then something shifts. You start to wake up. Maybe it's slowly, maybe it's all at once. Maybe someone you trust says something that makes you question the narrative you've been living. Maybe you read something about manipulation that suddenly makes you see your relationship in a completely different light. Maybe you just get tired, exhausted from trying to be perfect, trying to be good enough, trying to earn approval from someone who will never give it because your continued struggle is their source of power. And so you do something revolutionary. You stop reacting. The narcissist texts you something designed to trigger you, designed to pull an emotional response from you. And you don't respond, or you respond calmly, factually, with no emotion. And in that moment, something breaks. Not in you, in them. Their first reaction is confusion. They can't understand it. They text again. Maybe they say something meaner, something more hurtful, something they know used to devastate you. But you stay quiet. You stay unmoved. And from their perspective, it's like you've suddenly become a ghost. You're not playing the game anymore. You're not giving them the energy they feed on. And they cannot comprehend this because their entire understanding of you is based on your predictable reactions. You're supposed to be vulnerable. You're supposed to be desperate for their approval. You're supposed to be the weak one, but you're not. As days pass and you continue to be unmoved, unmoved by their words, unmoved by their attempts at charm, unmoved by their guilt trips, something darker starts to happen inside them. The confusion turns into frustration. They start to escalate. They might try different tactics. They might become suddenly nice, suddenly charming, suddenly everything you wish they could be. This is the love bombing phase. They remember what worked before, so they pour it on thick. They're sweet. They're attentive, they're making plans with you, they're acting like they've had some kind of awakening, and they're watching you carefully, testing, seeing if you'll fall back into line. But you don't. When that doesn't work, when you stay calm and distant and unresponsive to their sudden change of heart, the frustration explodes into something much darker: rage. They'll say things they've never said before. They might yell. They might be cruel in ways that are so calculated, so designed to hurt, that you can see right through it. And here's what's happening on the inside of them that they would never admit. They're terrified. Real, bone-deep terror. Because you're no longer their source of narcissistic supply. You're no longer giving them what they need to feel alive. You see, a narcissist isn't actually angry at you in these moments. They're not even really trying to hurt you anymore. They're panicking. They're desperate. They're losing you. And with you, they're losing the most powerful drug in their system, your emotional dependence on them. Everything they've built their identity on is crumbling, and they can feel it slipping through their fingers like sand. So they switch tactics again. Maybe they try guilt. They might tell you how much you've hurt them, how cruel you're being, how they can't believe after everything they've done for you, you would treat them this way. They might even cry. And this is where so many people make the mistake of going back. Because watching someone cry, watching someone seemingly suffer, it triggers empathy. It triggers your compassion. And the narcissist knows this. They're not actually emotionally distraught in these moments. They're performing. They're weaponizing their own tears as a manipulation tactic. But because you're starting to see clearly, you recognize it for what it is, and you don't fall for it. And this is when the panic becomes real. This is when they realize that nothing they do is working anymore. They're throwing everything at you. Charm, rage, guilt, tears, threats, promises, memories of good times, reminders of bad times, and none of it is landing. None of it is pulling you back into the cycle. You've become what the narcissist fears most. You've become untouchable. You're no longer in their control. If you want to understand these patterns and protect your peace, subscribe to the channel. Because once you see how these manipulations work, you'll never be blindsided by them again. You'll see them coming from a mile away, and you'll know exactly what they are and why the person is doing it. That knowledge is power. Now, at this point, the narcissist often tries one last extreme move. They might threaten to harm themselves. They might threaten to tell lies about you to your friends or family. They might threaten to take something precious from you. They might even try to turn the tables completely, positioning themselves as the victim and you as the villain. They might go out of their way to damage your reputation, to poison your relationships, to make sure everyone around you sees you as the bad guy and them as the poor, suffering person you've hurt. But here's what's happening inside their mind that you need to understand. They're not actually trying to win you back anymore. They're trying to punish you for leaving. They're trying to make you feel the pain they're feeling. And the intensity of their attacks, the desperation of their tactics, is actually proof of something beautiful. It's proof that you've taken your power back. It's proof that they no longer have control over you. If they still had control, they wouldn't need to escalate. They wouldn't need to fight this hard. Control, real control, is effortless. It doesn't require constant battles and escalating tactics. The narcissist's panic is a reflection of your freedom. And this is the moment where you need to understand something crucial about yourself. You might feel guilty. You might feel responsible for their panic, for their pain, for their falling apart. You might think that if you just go back, if you just give them what they want, they'll stop suffering. And if you think this, you're still not quite free yet, because true freedom isn't just about leaving the relationship. It's about leaving behind the belief that you are responsible for their emotional state. You are not. Let me be very clear about this. What the narcissist is feeling right now, this panic, this desperation, this rage, this is not your problem to solve. This is not your responsibility to fix. This is a natural consequence of their own choices, their own patterns, their own inability to form genuine human connection. You didn't create this situation. You just stopped enabling it. And there's a massive difference. Like when they panic, when they rage, when they cry, when they try to punish you, they're actually revealing something that was always true. They never loved you. They never saw you as a person. You were always just a tool. You were always just a source of supply, and now that you've taken yourself out of that equation, they're having a meltdown. They're falling apart because their favorite toy broke, not because they care about your well-being. And yes, watching someone fall apart is hard, even if that person hurt you, even if that person controlled you, even if that person made you question your sanity. It's hard to watch. You might feel pity, you might feel guilt, you might feel the old pull to rescue them, to save them, to be the good person who fixes everything. And this is the exact moment where you need to recognize that as another form of manipulation. It's internalized. The narcissist isn't even saying anything anymore, but you're doing their job for them. You're guilt-tripping yourself. You're trying to make it your responsibility, but it's not. Real victory, the kind of victory that actually matters, isn't about making them suffer more than they've made you suffer. It isn't about revenge, even though the fantasy of revenge might feel satisfying in moments of pain. Real victory is something else entirely. Real victory is becoming so emotionally free, so emotionally untouchable, that their panic, their rage, their desperation, none of it touches you anymore. Think about that. Imagine a moment where someone tries to manipulate you and you literally cannot feel it working. It's like they're speaking a foreign language. They're trying to press buttons that no longer exist on your control panel. They're trying to make you doubt yourself, and you simply don't. They're trying to make you feel guilty, and you recognize it immediately as their problem, not yours. They're trying to trigger you with memories of good times, and you remember that those good times were just part of the manipulation. They were the sugar between the poison pills. This is the kind of freedom that genuinely changes everything. Not just in your relationship with this person, but in every relationship. Once you develop this clarity, this psychological immunity to manipulation, it extends outward. You stop attracting manipulators, or if you do, you see them immediately, and you remove yourself from the situation without hesitation or guilt. The narcissist's panic is actually telling you something important about yourself. It's telling you that you're stronger than you knew. It's telling you that you have the power to build your own narrative, to define your own reality, to make choices based on what's actually good for you, instead of on what will keep someone else in power. It's telling you that the person who seemed so invincible, so controlling, so impossible to leave, is actually quite fragile when you remove your compliance. And here's the thing nobody talks about. The narcissist won't change. Not because of your leaving, not because of your resistance. They don't have the capacity to change in the way that healthy people do. Change requires self-awareness. It requires the ability to feel genuine empathy. It requires the willingness to see yourself clearly and honestly. And narcissists are incapable of all three. So when they panic, when they try new tactics, when they seem like they're having some kind of awakening, don't be fooled. This is just desperation wearing a different mask. The only change that matters is the change that happens in you. You're the one who becomes different. You're the one who develops boundaries that are unshakable. You're the one who stops needing their approval. You're the one who stops taking responsibility for their emotions. You're the one who becomes untouchable. And here's what happens when you truly reach that point. The narcissist, having tried everything, having exhausted every manipulation tactic in their arsenal, eventually has to accept that they don't have you anymore. They might never accept it gracefully. They might continue to rage, to spread lies, to try to hurt you in every way possible. But emotionally, they have to move on. They have to find a new source of supply because you are no longer available. And yes, that's hard. It's hard to see them move on to someone else. It's hard to watch someone you cared about, someone you invested in, hurt someone new the way they hurt you. And in those moments, you might feel the old pull to warn that person, to save them, to be the hero in someone else's story. And I'm going to tell you something that might sound harsh, but it's the most loving thing you can do. You can't save them. That person has to walk their own path. They have to make their own choices. And hopefully, they'll eventually see clearly the way you did. But your responsibility is not to them. Your responsibility is to yourself. This is the real victory. Not the moment the narcissist panics. That's just the beginning. The real victory is what happens in the months and years after. It's the moment you stop checking their social media to see if they've moved on. It's the moment you stop feeling a jolt of pain when you see them happy with someone new. It's the moment you realize that their life, their choices, their future, none of it actually matters to you anymore. Not because you're cold or hard-hearted, but because you're finally free. You're free to focus on yourself. You're free to build genuine relationships with people who can actually see you and appreciate you. You're free to make mistakes without someone throwing them in your face for eternity. You're free to grow without someone trying to hold you back because your growth threatens their control. You're free to be yourself without needing permission or approval. This is what a narcissist fears most. Not your anger, not your betrayal, not your leaving. They fear your indifference. They fear that you'll move on and forget them completely. They fear that one day you'll see a photo of them and feel absolutely nothing. Not hate, not love, not anger, just nothing, because in that nothing is the acknowledgement that they were never as important as you made them. And that destroys them. But for you, that nothing is freedom. The moment you realize this, the moment you understand that their panic is not something you caused and not something you're responsible for fixing, everything shifts. You start to see them differently. You start to see them not as the powerful, brilliant manipulator you thought they were, but as someone who is genuinely broken, someone who had to become a master of manipulation because they were never able to develop the emotional capacity for genuine love. And instead of that realization making you want to save them, it makes you grateful that you got out. Because you got out before their brokenness became your permanent reality. You got out before their dysfunction became your dysfunction. You got out before you forgot who you were underneath all the self-doubt they planted in your mind. You got out, and that took courage. That took strength. That took a kind of wisdom that not everyone has. And every time you feel guilty, every time you wonder if you were too hard on them, every time you feel that old pull to go back and rescue them from their panic, I want you to remember this. Their panic is not your responsibility. It's not your problem. It's not even really about you, despite how much they're trying to make it about you. It's about them finally facing themselves without someone to hide behind. The narcissist's downfall isn't your victory, not in the way revenge would be. Your victory is that you're no longer available to be their victim. Your victory is that you've become immune to their tactics. Your victory is that you can see them clearly now, see through all the manipulation and the performance, and you feel neither love nor hate. You just feel clear. This is the most powerful position you can be in, not because you're hurting them, not because you've won some battle against them, but because you've transcended the whole dynamic. You're no longer playing their game. You're not even on their playing field anymore. You're on a completely different level, living a completely different life, being a completely different person than the one they tried to create. And from this place, you're untouchable, truly untouchable. Not because you're mean or cold or distant, but because you no longer need anything from them. You no longer need their approval, their validation, their love, their attention. You've learned to give those things to yourself. And when you no longer need something, it loses all power over you. The narcissist can rage. The narcissist can lie. The narcissist can try to destroy your reputation. The narcissist can cry and beg and threaten and promise. But none of it will touch you because you're no longer invested in the outcome. You're no longer waiting for them to change. You're no longer hoping that one day they'll see what they did to you and feel remorse. You're no longer waiting for validation from them. You're free. And that freedom is worth more than any revenge, any triumph, any satisfaction you could get from watching them suffer. Because your peace, your emotional freedom, your ability to trust yourself again, that's the real prize. That's what you get when you finally walk away and don't look back. So if you're reading this right now and you're still in that relationship, you're still dealing with the panic and the manipulation, I want you to know something. That panic you're seeing, that escalation you're experiencing, it's not a sign that you should go back. It's a sign that you're breaking free. It's a sign that they're losing control. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's scary. Yes, there will be moments where you question whether you made the right choice, but keep going. Keep holding your boundary. Keep refusing to react. Keep building your own life independent of them. Because on the other side of that panic, on the other side of that chaos, is freedom. Real freedom. The kind of freedom where you don't wake up anxious, where you don't check your phone in fear, where you don't question your own sanity, where you trust yourself again, where you believe that you deserve good things and good people in your life. That's what's waiting for you, not because you're perfect, not because you deserve it more than anyone else, but because you're willing to do the hard work of breaking free. You're willing to sit with discomfort. You're willing to feel guilty even though you have nothing to feel guilty about. You're willing to hold your ground even when every part of you wants to give in. That's strength, real strength. If you want clarity, self-respect, and emotional freedom in your life, subscribe now. Hit that button and share this video with someone who needs to hear this, someone who's trapped in a cycle of manipulation right now, someone who needs to understand that their panic isn't their problem to solve, someone who needs to know that freedom is possible. They might not thank you right now, but someday they will. They'll be free, and they'll remember that you showed them the way. Subscribe, share, and start your journey to becoming untouchable.